r/AskReddit by Reddition. Like and subscribe. What is the scariest/creepiest theory you know about? Cosmology can be disturbing. For instance, I recently learned of dead-end trips. There are some destinations that you shouldn't try for. It's possible to travel so far away from where you started that the expansion of the universe will exceed the speed you were traveling at. You can't return home because home is receding faster than you can travel. You can't reach your destination because it too is receding faster than you can travel. You can no longer get anywhere, only get further away from everything. You cannot reach any destination, even if you travel forever. Okay, this one is rough, so please bear with me. So the common time travel question is, would you go back and kill baby Hitler? Well, imagine if that was you. To us in the current timeline, you would be a hero that killed someone truly evil before they had chance to corrupt or endanger anyone, but to the people of that time you are a monster, a baby killer. They couldn't exactly explain to people, I was sent from the future to kill this baby, to save hundreds of millions of lives. No one would believe him and would just assume he was some nutcase, or maybe they are not allowed to tell anyone as per the agreement with the future government. It makes you wonder, all the people through time that have been called monsters for killing babies, what if they were just heroes from the future saving us all? They couldn't tell anyone either. This isn't a theory, but I just think it's cool. You know how movies and shows always have this ancient alien race that came way before us, and we're the new species? Well, technically, most likely that's wrong. We are near the beginning of the universe. If the universe was a person, we would literally barely be a cell, not even formed. In reality, we are the ancient species, we are the ones that come before, we are the ones some future civilization may see. Just a crazy thing to think about. That a robot could fail the Turing test if it wanted to. The Vader incident. September 1979, a US Vader satellite detected a double flash of light over an area of the ocean between South Africa and Antarctica. The prior 41 double flashes observed by the satellite were from nuclear explosions, as this is what they were designed to observe. There also happened to be a typhoon happening in the area at the time, so it seemed like someone wanted to detonate it without being caught. Carter administration reported that it was a natural occurrence due to a small meteorite hitting the satellite. However, many other independent sources and even other countries have reported that they did indeed find traces of fallout and radiation. Because of the geopolitical climate of the times, there's very strong evidence that it was in fact a joint nuclear weapon test carried out by South Africa and Israel, and the US scrubbed the information regarding it because they didn't want to paint their allies in Israel in a bad light for working with apartheid-era South Africa. Strangely enough, Israel and South Africa have never denied having nuclear weapons programs, nor have they ever denied a joint test being responsible for the Vader incident. This is pretty cliche, but the theory that your whole known life you've been in a coma and have imagined everything. Your family isn't really your family, and everyone and everything doesn't actually exist. Then when you wake up, you'll have to live through life all over again with connections you've made to fake people. Years ago, when I was seriously dating my now wife, almost every time we started to have sexy time her mother would call up. Seemed strange, then disgusting when we found the hidden camera when moving her out. If the human body senses trauma it is unable to combat, it will switch off metabolism, pump endorphins, and slip into a pain-free dissociative state. In essence, shutting down. It's been seen in air crashes and lots of places really. Basically, your body can switch itself off. Not much of a theory, more of a conjecture, but fossilization is actually quite rare. It takes extremely specific set of circumstances for a dead organism to even become fossilized, let alone survive intact to the modern day, to be found by humans. Because of this, there are likely millions of species we will simply never know about because none of them ever fossilized. For all we know, we might not even be the first intelligent species to evolve here on Earth. There could have been a species that formed a civilization at some point and then went extinct later on, but we'll possibly never know that because there are no fossils that formed or survived today. It probably wouldn't have been an advanced, industrialized civilization like the kind we have today, as we would have surely found evidence for it by now, but I could easily see something on par with ancient Egypt disappear completely after millions of years. The man from Tord. He was going through an airport, and when asked for his passport he gave the people a fully legitimate passport, except the country he was from didn't exist. He argued that it was right between France and Spain, and had been there over 200 years. Since the passport was legitimate, but the country wasn't on the map, they put him up in a hotel for the night with guards outside his 4-story room. He was gone, along with all his things the next morning. Not a trace. During the Challenger accident from 1986, whenever the shuttle exploded, the ground crews had the astronauts' EKGs and vital scans. After the explosion, the astronauts were still alive. Theory has it that they were cognizant the entire time until they crashed in the ocean. This is what actually happened. NASA never wanted to admit that the astronauts didn't die in the explosion. But there is a major probability that they were not conscious when they crashed into the ocean. Philosophical zombies. Theory that a good portion of the human race lack conscious experience. If you've ever dissociated or done something and don't recall, driven home but have no recollection, your brain acting on autopilot, that's what they are like. They do everything required to be human. They ape emotions, go through life. They just lack sentience. That you might be aware of everything happening to you during surgery. The anesthesia keeps you from moving and causes you to forget. The dark forest theory. This explains the Fermi Paradox, why we haven't seen any other advanced life forms despite the vastness of the universe. Other advanced life forms don't send out signals into the rest of the universe because they are worried that something more advanced and dangerous is going to find them first. There's another idea that other civilizations know there's something out there, but don't send any signals, because it has no reason to not wipe out the entire planet. There's a science fiction book based on this, and I think this quote explains it better than I can. The universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path, and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful, because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him. If he finds another life, another hunter, angel, or a demon, a delicate infant, a tottering old man, a fairy or demigod, there's only one thing he can do: open fire and eliminate them. Our dumbasses sent out a golden recording of Johnny B. Good blasting through space. If you die by being beheaded, the last thing you might see is your decapitated body. It's scary that there are thousands of serial killers out there at any one given time who often just blend in with the rest of society and live a normal life. Many will never be caught. That we can sense when someone is watching us. So when we are alone and we get that feeling, someone is probably watching you. A lot of comments bringing up the Fermi Paradox to explain the lack of evidence of extraterrestrial life, when by all accounts we should be seeing alien life all over the universe. Here's another unsettling explanation. If you're scuba diving above a coral reef and you know that there should be fish all around you, but you don't see any, it's most likely that they have learned that for some reason it's important not to be seen. And since you're a newcomer to this environment, chances are it's not you they are hiding from. Edit. The number of scuba divers saying they've experienced this and then noticed a shark nearby is alarming. The last neuron in the brain can fire up to 72 hours after clinical death. What is classed as still being alive? Your heart stops, or your brain activity stopping? As a nurse, this plays on my mind. I always talk to the recently deceased as I would do usually. Hearing is the last sense to go anyway, so chances are people can still hear for a short time after death. I have to confirm death on a daily basis. We check heart sounds, breathing, I response and pain response, but part of me knows that electrical activity is still going on in there. I'm a hospice nurse and morbid thoughts are what I do best. The theory about why aliens haven't contacted or interacted with us is because they have observed our planet/society and determined that we are still too primitive and there's basically no point talking to us. You wouldn't walk into a rainforest and try to have an intellectual conversation with a monkey because they wouldn't understand what you're saying. I also like the theory that the UFOs we see could potentially be of extraterrestrial origin, and they are most likely just advanced drones going around to each planet in the galaxy, recording the data and daisy chaining it back to a civilization that probably doesn't even exist anymore. Not theory but fact. The average terminal velocity of a kindergartner is 60 miles per hour. The scary part is how they found it out. This is one I had a couple days ago watching this video about Carl Sagan explaining the fourth dimension. The gist is, if we all existed in 2 dimensions we could only see or record events that happen in 2 dimensions. So if there were things in the 4th dimension we could never see, or even imagine them. Imagine a 4th direction to move in. Carl Sagan explains it beautifully, as if we were on a piece of paper, we could only see the cross-section of anything that passes through our world. That humans almost went extinct. 70,000 years ago a volcano in Indonesia erupted. There's theories that we have a genetic bottleneck around that time. Took our population down to 10,000 to 3,000, like the size of one small town. Lots of fresh genetic material died with those who were lost, and the resulting inbreeding could have resulted in some genetic diseases that have made their way into humans today. Without this event, we may have advanced faster and be healthier people today. The theory that scented candles starting getting poor reviews at the same time COVID hit the US. Makes you wonder how many people have mild COVID before we even knew about it, pairing the lack of taste and or smell as one of the main symptoms associated with mild COVID cases. Basically heat exchange theory. That one day all of the heat we use in order to create energy will be expended and the universe will be stuck in a heat lock. Sometimes I'll encounter random strangers that I get a strange vibe from, like they're noticing me more. It's made me think, what if there are time traveling tourists just walking around and I'm someone important and they want to meet me before I do whatever it is I'm going to do? That mind control actually exists. It's something that would never go public because whoever was able to perfect it first would be in the position to use it on whoever is aware of its existence. More of a story than a theory, but it correlates to some of these and makes me think some could be real. When I was younger I had this little stuffed animal dog guy named Rocky. One night, my younger sisters and I, who all slept in the same room so we could hang out together, were messing around, and I two-handed overhead tossed Rocky into the wall directly in front of my bed. He hit the wall, slid down behind whatever was in front of my bed, and was never seen again. I immediately went to go get him, and he just wasn't anywhere. We tore the whole entire small room apart. We all saw the event occur. Over time the room has been completely emptied out, everything in it rearranged, walls painted, everything, and no Rocky. He just completely phased out of existence. Makes me think he glitched out of the system or something. That we have so little data about the deep dark parts of the ocean and don't truly know what lurks there. The theory that we're all quantum immortals, and when someone dies in our reality, for them they just keep on going in a reality where they didn't. Sometime in the future, if we don't disappear before, humans will probably be able to bioengineer themselves to avoid death by old age. Most probably only the richest people will get this, founding an immortal elite of dynasties that will be able to rule nations by themselves, while common people simply keep dying as always. Now almost everyone thinks of death as something normal and inevitable, as part of our nature. But then, in that hypothetical future, death will be seen like a disease in which the cure is kept away from common people by that ruling elite. That everyone you know who's dead is watching you now 24/7, even as you jerk off, and when you die they all come to greet you. that all intelligent life kills itself. So the theory started out with a Fermi Paradox. Basically there are so many planets in this galaxy, let alone the entire universe, that it is statistically impossible that we're the only planet that developed intelligent life. So where is everybody? Well, the secondary theory is that every intelligent species reaches a point where they have a technology that can kill their entire species. And that the vast majority end up killing themselves at that point. Those who survive this time in their history are so rare that we haven't found them, and they haven't found us. As a species we reached that point in our history with the discovery of nuclear weapons, and we're at the height of risk during the Cold War, at least thus far in our collective history, but there are various technologies that could bring a species to this point in their history. This would mean that while so far we've survived, that it's statistically unlikely we will survive long term. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos.